Good morning, everyone. I'm Euan, and it's so lovely to be with you here and also our online community, which is joined by Yanni and my parents this morning. So let's give them a big cheer to start off. Good to see you. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've given yourself a reputation, whether you want it or not. But whenever I was about 15, I gave myself a reputation, not just in my own church, but in churches all across the area, where we were doing a sports tournament and we were playing dodgeball, and I had the ball and I managed to throw it, which is impressive. But not only that, I threw it across and it smacked this girl right in the face, and then it bounced from her face into her pal's face. And then from then on, I was just marked for about 3 years, where everybody would look at me and go, "Oh, you're the guy who just threw a dodgeball in two girls' face at the same time," as if it was an intentional thing. Sometimes we're given reputations and we're like, do we want to hold on to this super tight because we've done something really good and we want to hold on to it and not let it go? Or sometimes we have a reputation like mine where you want to just escape it and get away from it so we're not trapped to it. You see, Jesus, whenever he has a reputation, it's so interesting. We've been going through John, and he's at the peak of his reputation, I would say, because he's just raised Lazarus from the dead. All the towns around know Jesus has raised Lazarus from the dead. And then he comes into Jerusalem, as Tori was saying this morning, on Palm Sunday. He's riding in on a donkey, and crowds of people are going, "Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest." They're throwing their coats down, they're throwing their palm branches down as the people are cheering as he comes in. And then whenever he's in Jerusalem, he's in the temples with the Pharisees. But the Pharisees can't even get close to him because crowds and crowds of people are around him, and they're surrounding, and they can't even approach him anymore. Earlier on in Jesus' ministry, they could walk right up to him. But now in their own place, they can't even get close. And Jesus, with all this reputation, and comes into this Last Supper moment, this Passover moment, and instead of holding this reputation above them or knowing that he's going to be crucified, he doesn't use his reputation to rally up his disciples, but instead the first thing Jesus does is he comes in, he takes off his coat, and he gets down and he washes the feet of the disciples. What an image that is for us of who Jesus is, that laying down reputations and laying down all the things we're carrying and just washing and serving one another. That's how Jesus sets up his Last Supper. That's the posture he sets up for us as his disciples, as his church. And then as he's washing the feet, he finishes and he says, "I have set an example for you that you should do as I have done." And he carries on, "A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you are my disciples." That's kind of the whole, what our series has been carried on, is this loving one another, serving one another, laying down our own stuff to help and care for the person beside us. And this morning, we're going to unpack Jesus' final teaching in the Last Supper, this prayer he has for us. It starts off a prayer for himself as he goes to the cross, and then it's a prayer for the disciples immediately in front of him. And where we pick up in John 17, verse 20, is Jesus' prayer for us as the church. Jesus says, "My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you and I are one, and you are in me, and I am in you. May they also be in us, so the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. I in them, and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. The world will know that you have sent me, and have loved them even as you have loved me. Father, I want those you have given to me to be with me where I am, and to see my glory, the glory you have given me because you have loved me before the creation of the world. Righteous Father, though the world does not know you, I know you, and they know you have sent me. I have made you known to them, and they will continue to make you known in order that the world that you have for me may be in them, and that I myself may be in them. What a prayer Jesus has for us as the church. What a way to finish his last teaching before knowing he's going to the cross. And I think Jesus is trying to draw out three things for us as the church to lean into and to know today. The first of these is Jesus' prayer is for us knowing God. And it's about knowing much more than just existence. You see, whenever I first became a Christian, I thought, I'll start taking philosophy classes in school. That kind of teaches you about who God is and stuff, and it engages our mind, and it's fantastic. But one of the things we had to learn were these different arguments for God's existence. And the thing that has always stuck out to me, and I would say it's the argument that is full of the most philosophicalness. It's called the ontological argument, or the being argument. And it talks about how God has to be the greatest possible being. And if we can think of the greatest possible being in our mind, well, a thing that is real is better than anything in our mind. So God, therefore, must exist in both mind and reality if he's the greatest possible being. And I think that's great. But what it does is it misses something key about the character of God. God is so much more than just existence. But God has a posture of wanting to know and understand us as his creation. His posture is leaning in to us, that he's saying, come and discover me. Come and discover me, the true living God. Whenever Jesus is speaking this, he uses, John records the word egnon 5 times in the Greek. And the Greek word egnon is like a first-hand knowing experience of God. It's a first-hand experience and a living relationship. It's not the same as saying, I know Messi, as in I know of the footballer Messi, or I know of Ronaldo. But instead, it's a first-hand knowing where I could say, I know Sonny, or I know Tori, or I know Nathan, and it's a first-hand encounter. And Jesus is saying and inviting us into this knowing of, hey, come and know me, come and discover me, discover the Father, discover the Spirit, have a first-hand real knowing, not just some out there, I know of God, but it's a come and have a tangible relationship with me. You see, whenever God does this, he doesn't just do it here in this moment, but this is a continuing thing God does throughout the whole Bible. Whenever Moses encounters God at the burning bush in Exodus 3, he says to Moses, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God saying to Moses, Moses, I know your father. Moses, I know Abraham. Moses, I know Isaac. I know Jacob. And Moses, I want to know you today. And I want you to know me. That it's not just a one-way knowing, but it's a two-way knowing, that we know God and God knows us. And Jesus is carrying that forward today, that the heart and desire of Jesus is postured towards us, and he recognizes us as his creation and as his sons and daughters. And it's at the heart of the prayer that Jesus has. Throughout the Last Supper, Jesus is teaching of the Father who wants to know them. He's teaching of the Spirit who who he's going to send to know them. And then he's teaching about the Son who they personally know. And Jesus is saying, disciples, you know me. You've walked with me for 3 years. Now continue to walk with the Spirit as you've walked with me. Continue to walk with the Father as you've walked with me. And that same invitation is towards us today. It's saying, come and know me as your God. And as we start to know God and understand God, something starts to happen. We start to reconcile with God. We start to become this friendship, and it deepens, and we start to almost be unified to God. Jesus starts to pray for us to be unified with the Father and to be unified with the Spirit. In verse 21, he says, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us. Father, I want those you have given me to be with me where I am. God's posture isn't towards just individuals knowing him, but a whole community of people, that as we get to know and discover that we become more and more like him. And as we grow in this friendship and discovery of God, what happens is that we don't just keep it here, but it starts to spread out from between us, that we don't contain what God's doing in our lives to just us. Because as our values are growing with God, as our ambitions are growing with God, as our wisdom is growing with God, our understanding, our hope, our motivation, we can't just contain and keep these things in, but it starts to burst out and share amongst us. All these things, whenever we know God, become so much bigger that we have to share it with people, that we have to reach out, that we have to discover with God. And we begin to unite with those around us. When I first came to church, when I was 15, I wasn't a Christian yet. I remember walking in to a church and being like, are these the people in the church? Are these really the people that I'm going to hang out with, that I want to kind of discover who God is with? I looked around and was like, really? Maybe you've had that exact same experience where you're like, really? Am I really wanting to journey with the person next to me? Maybe you're thinking that today, but I remember having this feeling of like, oh, I don't know if I can be bothered with these people. and then all of a sudden, I encounter Jesus and I know Jesus. And then I come into church the next Sunday and I go, these are my people. These are the people I want to be with. These are the people I want to go along with, that I want to discover God with. And what happens is, as we know God, something shifts and changes. But the good thing is that it didn't just change once and then change back. But as I moved across to Aberdeen, as I joined this church, I didn't walk in and go, are these the people I want to journey with? I instantly came in and was like, these are the people I want to journey with. This is like what God has called us for. He calls us for this unity with people that we wouldn't meet in any other point in our lives, to create such a diverse in age, in race, in love, and just growing, and just everything changes when we know God. That something shifts and changes in each of us, where our posture isn't towards ourselves but towards others. And this is exactly what Jesus prayed for 2,000 years ago. He said, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you and I are one, and I am in you and you in me. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe. And for us today, it might seem like such a big thing that, oh, we're starting to be a diverse church and starting to grow. But it was also like that 2,000 years ago. The church was started with Jews who were born Jews and who were taught, we separate ourselves from Gentiles, we keep to ourselves, and we don't want to become unclean. Talking to other people makes us unclean. Doing this makes us unclean. Doing that makes us unclean. But what happens is Jesus prays this, not just for the Jews, but also is saying to them, it's not just for you, it's for the Gentiles as well, that we're all in this together. And Jesus' prayer is that Jews and Gentiles can be reconciled together. And 20 years later from this, the church is planted all across the Mediterranean and Asia. And it's spearheaded by a Paul, who considers himself the Hebrew of Hebrews. He was the cleanest of the clean. He wouldn't go near or wouldn't touch. And yet, as soon as Paul encounters Jesus, everything shifts. This idea of keep to myself, let me contain what I have with God, with the people I know and with God. But instead, it shifts and goes, let's have it for the others. Let's spread it to others. What a story of the church, that the church's posture has always been about going to the people who aren't seen, going to the people who feel left out. That right at the start of the church that happened, that unity was at the heart of the church in the beginning, and it's at the heart of the church today. And that's a real answer to Jesus' prayer. As the Spirit has worked through the church, as Jesus has worked through the church, that we have, over 2,000 years, continued that same tradition. And then Jesus finishes with how he started the Last Supper. He finishes it with a prayer for love for us. As I mentioned at the start, he washes the feet and he says, I give you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. And then Jesus finishes the Last Supper with this. Righteous Father, though the world does not know you, I know you. And they will continue, and they will know that you have sent me. I have made you known to them, and will continue to make you known, in order that the love you have for me may be in them, that I myself may be in them. As we know and as we unify with God in this prayer, we get the love of God as well. As we know God, we're imprinted with this new source of love, this new abundance of love and care that is placed in us and sealed by the Spirit. This source of love that we might not have had before, that just grows and bubbles out. And again, just like as our ambitions and values and things like that grow as we know God, so too does our love. And it doesn't just get contained with this relationship, but again, it goes out. It goes out into the others around us. It shares into the lives around us. And the greatest way that Jesus showed us his love was through serving. That's his instruction to us again and again, is to serve. One of my favorite sports is cycling, and I love to watch it. And one thing I love about it is you can have a person that's called a domestique, which is basically like a helper who helps the team leader. And his role is to sit and take all the wind for the team leader. He's to go get him a water bottle when he wants it, a gel when he wants it, energy when he wants it. And one of my favorite ones of this is a guy called Cummings. And he's a great domestic. He was the best teammate. He would help out wherever possible. And he helped his teammates win 5 different Grand Tours, which is like 5 different types of Tour de France's and the Tour de France. And he helped them out. And all of a sudden, he's serving and he's giving his all. And then one time, Cummings gets in a race and he finds himself in the lead. And he's leading the race. And instead of going back to his classic, I'm going to just serve and bless the people around me, instead, the people that he's been serving and caring for the last 3 years turn and they have the same posture towards him. They start to serve him. They start to help him and go, no, you've helped us. It's your time. We're going to serve you. And that's Jesus' hope for us as a church, is that as we serve one another, it's not just, I'm going to serve you and you can just receive and be blessed, but actually we serve each other and we bless each other and we care for each other and we love one another. John later records in his letters saying, Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and truth. Since God so loved us, we ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. The love of God builds in us so that we can serve and care for one another. The love of God moves us into a place of generosity, into a place of hospitality, into a place of encouragement, into a place of carrying the burdens for one another, into a place of showing the wonder and beauty of God to the world. And it's that Jesus has printed in us, that all of a sudden this love that we've received from God, we share with those around us. And Jesus didn't just say this to us, but he embodied it for us. Jesus hosted prostitutes and tax collectors at his table. Jesus encouraged those around us to give generously with what they had, as he gave away what he had in both time and resources. He encouraged his disciples to grow and to try and to step out in faith with God. And then ultimately, Jesus carried our burdens as he carries them up the mountain, up the hill to the cross. Jesus picked up what we had and he carries it for us. He carries it to the cross and he says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. And yet it didn't stay there. Jesus rose again. As he died on the cross, he rose again in love. And again, didn't go, disciples, you abandoned me. What have you done? You fled. Instead, he says, come and sit with me. Come and enjoy. You see, the love of God that Jesus prays for us is one of reaching out, of forgiveness and serving. And as Jesus is praying that and teaching that, he embodies that. And his prayer is for us as a church to continue to teach that, to pray it, and to embody it. That's why it's such a wonderful thing, like our Easter egg hunt yesterday, where we can give out Easter eggs to families that might not get them this year, that we can invite people into our homes, into our church, into our lifestyle service where we give them meals, those into prisons where we can share hope of freedom with Jesus. All these things are embodying this prayer that Jesus had for us 2,000 years ago. But this prayer wasn't just to be completed in a tick box, but it's to be a living embodiment for us today. If you'd like to stand with me as I invite the band up. As I've been prepping this week and kind of sitting on it, the two things that have kind of sat with me are the idea of I just want to tick that like tick box of I want to be like hosting just and doing it out of a tick box and going, I should do it because God's asked me to and just tick it off, or encouraging other people because I want to tick it off. But a prayer that actually I want to grow in just embodying that on a daily basis. That it doesn't just become a tick box, but it's a natural imprint of God's love in my life. So if that's something for you this morning, I'd love to pray with you on my left, your right, and I'm sure Nathan and Tori have a whole load of other things. But let's say goodbye to our online crew as we go into a time of ministry.